Good evening. It's now 6:30, and I call this regular meeting of the Victoria City Council to order. In the council chambers with us tonight are the Webelos Den of the Victoria Cub Scouts Pack 3589, who will join us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. So, Cub Scouts, if you want to join us right up here. Come on up. Hats off. Are we all set? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, gentlemen. The first item on our agenda this evening is announcements. Our next City Council meeting will be held next week on Monday, December 16th at 5:30 p.m. This will be our final meeting of the year, as our City Council meeting for December 23rd has been canceled. All meetings of the City Council are open to the public and held in the council chambers at City Hall unless otherwise noted. If you're interested in speaking at a council meeting, we encourage you to contact our city clerk for more information. In other announcements, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who attended our annual Light Up Victoria event and to recognize our city team for their hard work in making this event possible. Light Up Victoria was organized in partnership with the Victoria Business Owners Association and all the wonderful local businesses that participated. It was a delightful evening, and we truly appreciate your support and participation. There are no other announcements this evening, and there are no proclamations this evening. So our next order of business is to adopt the final agenda. Council, can I get a motion to adopt the final agenda?
Motion to adopt the final agenda.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our next item, which is the open forum. The open forum is an opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda and not an application form that will be coming to the council at a future date. Council members may ask clarifying questions, but we don't typically engage in discussion during open forum. Each speaker has up to 5 minutes to address the council, and we have 2 individuals who have registered in advance to speak this evening. I will ask our city clerk to set a timer for each speaker, and our first speaker is Mr. Dusterhoff. We would like to invite you to step forward to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, and then you will have the floor for the next 5 minutes. Mr. Dusterhoff.
My name is Bruce Dusterhoff. I reside at 8024 Trillium Trail, and that's in Victoria, it's down the road here. We had a situation where I created a petition because I lived on a dirt road. Trillium Trail is only 1 lane, 2 directions. The block is about half a block long. We have 3 lots on my side of the street, 5 lots on the other side of the street. We petitioned it. We got clearance. We put down asphalt. Also included to the north of me, 1 lot. Then there's a cul-de-sac where it was tarred. That was done, I believe, in the mid-2000 teens, 15, 16, somewhere in there, maybe 17. I didn't keep track of it all. Anyway, we had a new road put in on 3 of them, Rose, Sunflower, and Trillium Trail. So they tore out what they did 5-6 years back, and they tore out the cul-de-sac. They never replaced it. They put in curbs on Rose and Sunflower. They put a curb on Trillium Trail. It ended at my lot, so I don't have a curb. We got new asphalt. We don't have any asphalt in the cul-de-sac. I got nowhere to park other than in my driveway. So the cul-de-sac got tore out, which means there's mud there. If we have an occasion, it's raining, we send people to park in the cul-de-sac temporarily. And if it's raining, they get mud. Okay, so it's a big step backwards. course, not having a curb on the street there, everybody else got one. I got nowhere to park. Then they come and charge me unexpectedly $9,110 on top of taxes that I've been paying for 30 years. I've resided in the town of Victoria for 30 years now. It will be May of next year, it'll be 30 years. Okay, so I pay, on average, I look back the last 10 years, I'm paying additional $430 a year extra on top of what I pay. I want to know what happened to the surplus that the state of Minnesota had, $17.9 million. Why am I being charged $9,110? It blows my mind. I want that money back. That's about all I got to say about the road. We have a neighbor living directly across. He's of Trillium Trail. Remember, 1 lane wide like an alley. I got no curb, so he's in there driving, tearing up my boulevard, freshly seeded. Nobody's ever come back to fix it. Nobody's ever come back to put a curb in for security. There I sit. His backyard's full of junk, trailers, cars. 2 cars have been sitting there for a year now. And there's no laws, I guess. You can do what you want. Throw the trash out there if you want. That's fine. I live here just in downtown Victoria. It's sad. What happened? Then we got Creeping Charlie. It's taking over. I'm in the middle. I got a lot that City of Victoria sold to somebody. He's got a curb now on Trillium Trail. There's no house there. This Creeping Charlie's marching this way, and they got a state park over by the cul-de-sac and the lot to the north of me. Their Creeping Charlie's coming. I'm tired of spraying poison. I want my yard to look nice. Plus, I look at the garbage across the way, right across the street from me, like looking at you, Deb. Garbage. What's going on? So I'd like to get some of this resolved. I sent all of you my complaints, emails. If you want me to forward them to you, please respond to Deb. Give me your emails. Yeah, so that's just pretty much it. I mean, I can go into more depth. I can talk about we're the highest paid county, or the state taxes. We pay the highest out of 78 counties. We're number 1. Carver County the most. The biggest city in Carver County is Chaska. What about Minnetonka? What about Edina? All these ritzy places. They're not part of Carver County. Why are our taxes so high? It's the 2nd county in the state, the most expensive county to live in, the 2nd most. So,
Thank you, Mr. Destroff.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. We also have the Webelows Den of the Victoria Cub Scouts Pack 3589, who also asked to speak to us this evening. Please come on forward and introduce yourself for our record.
My name is Dean Erickson. I live at 2753 Northwest Boulevard in Victoria. I am the den leader of the Webelows Den for Victoria Pack 3589. We are a feeder into the Victoria BSA Troop 589. Thanks for the opportunity to come and take part in this council meeting. Scouts today are working on the My Community module of their rank requirements. So they're going to be here observing the local government in action. They were learning about the majority and plurality types of voting and how offices work. So maybe you can answer some questions here. They'll be easy ones and not political ones. First question, what type of voting for these council positions are used? Is it a majority vote or a plurality type vote?
It is a majority vote.
Okay. And how long are the council positions held for?
Each of us has been elected to a 4-year term.
Okay. Are there term limits?
I don't think so. I'm looking at my city manager. She's shaking her head no.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can sit in these chairs as long as they're comfortable, I guess.
Final question that might be a little bit tougher. What's the typical turnout for voters for the City of Victoria council elections?
That is such a good question, and I'm going to defer that to our city clerk, Miss Claudia Edisfold over here, who runs our elections.
So in this current election, we had an 85% turnout of voters.
Okay.
So we probably had a 45% turnout that voted absentee, and then the rest appeared at the local polls on voting day.
All right.
85%, that's something to be proud of, Victoria.
Yeah, that's quite a few residents.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I weigh in on that
Please do.
last question about term limits? I never thought I would have the opportunity to say these words, but so I also...
Mr. Vos, please introduce yourself for the PAC.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Bob Vos. I'm the city's attorney. So I'm the city attorney for Victoria and a couple of other cities, including Independence. And as to your term limit question, so I was at a meeting last week, Tuesday night last week, in Independence, where Mayor Marvin Johnson presided as mayor over his last council meeting after having served for 46 years as mayor of Independence, the longest serving mayor ever in the history of Minnesota. So showing you about no term limits on local offices.
I will not be sitting here in 46 years.
All right. Well, thank
As
you.
delightful as this job is.
And Scouts, you can
All right.
leave after you've had enough of watching.
Very good. Well, thank you, and we welcome you to the council meeting this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda or not coming to us at a future meeting? All right, seeing no one, we are moving on to our consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are routine, administrative, and do not require deliberation, or are housekeeping items that are required by law. Consent agenda items are approved with one vote unless someone requests an item to be considered separately. Ms. Hardy, does staff wish to pull any consent items for separate discussion and vote?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Council, anyone wishing to pull anything from the consent agenda? Or anyone in the audience wishing to pull anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we will make a motion for the consent agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Saturday consent agenda.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now moving on to our regular agenda this evening. The first item on our regular agenda is 6.1, which is our Truth in Taxation hearing for the 2025 Budget and Levy. Presenting this evening is Assistant City Manager and Finance Director Tricia Pollack. Ms. Pollack, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. The first item for this budget and levy adoption would be for you to open up the Truth in Taxation and ask the public whether or not there's anyone here that would like to make comments on the budget.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Pollack. This is our Truth in Taxation hearing for our 2025 proposed budget and levy. I will now open the floor for public comment. If there is anyone who wishes to speak to this item, please approach the podium. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? And last call. All right, seeing no one, we will close the hearing. And now the floor is open for the council to discuss. Do you have a presentation this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do. So tonight is our final budget meeting. We began, as you recall, in June with workshops, and several months later, here we are, ready to adopt the final budget and tax levy. So in September, the council approved a preliminary levy of just over $9 million, which was a 12.47% increase over the 24 levy. Staff were able to find additional reductions and are proposing a final levy that is lower than what was discussed and approved in September. The proposed final levy is $8.98 million, which would be 11.84% increase over 2024. Overall, that's a $50,000 decrease from the max tax levy. This decrease was achieved without impacting service levels and was primarily a result of employee benefit elections being slightly less than what we had projected. Additionally, we have removed the playground replacement and will instead be completing the installation of the 2024 Deer Run project, which we paid for this year. We've also added a full-time fire inspector position in the public safety department, which would begin the second quarter of 2025. The tax capacity rate will increase by 1.76% to 30.19%. The median home value decreased slightly, and as a result of that value decrease and the levy change, taxes on a median value home will increase 5.4% over 2024 to $1,678 annually. This chart gives you a look back 5 years and the forecast of 10 years. Our long-term projections are based off of a projected increase in the median home value of 2%, and the 2025 30.19% tax rate is lower than the 32.04 tax rate in 2020, but is also expected to rise in 2026 through 2028 to just shy of 35% with the issuance of the bonds for the new fire station and the several road projects before you'll see that it starts to drop back down again. So with that, I am happy to take any questions from the council, and then staff is asking for the approval of 4 resolutions.
Very good. And we want to take these resolutions individually?
Yes, please.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, council, comments, questions, any discussion on this final tax levy?
I guess for the record, I think we're going in the wrong direction on some of the items that are in that budget. And I think it's going to affect our trails. Because I think by the time we're finally said and done with some of those amenities that we feel have value, we're gonna be $500,000 down the rabbit hole, and that's a lot of trail connection. So unless we get rid of it, this budget it's not going in the right direction. So.
Okay. Other comments? Councilmember Gunderson, do you want to go further into detail about the items you're not in agreement with, or?
No.
Okay. Okay. Other comments from council? All right, seeing none, I will entertain the first motion.
A motion for a resolution approving a final tax levy for the city of Victoria for collection in 2025 in the amount of $8,984,327.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Can I see the,
Get that again, the motions, please.
yeah, a resolution approving a final tax levy for the city of Victoria for collection in 2025 in the amount of $8,984,327. Motion by Councilmember Roberts, second by Councilmember Rife. All in favor except Councilmember Gunderson?
Thank you.
All right. The second resolution, please.
I'll make a resolution adopting the final 2025 general fund and Victoria Recreation Center fund budgets.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And the third resolution, please.
I'll make a motion for a resolution adopting the final 2025 water fund, sewer fund, and stormwater fund budgets.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And a final resolution, please.
Make a motion for a resolution adopting the 2025 through 2029 capital improvement plan.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty, we're moving on to item 6.3, which is a public hearing for our proposed 2025 fee schedule. Presenting that this evening is Assistant City Manager Alyssa Nelson. Ms. Nelson, welcome.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, members of City Council. One moment while I pull my presentation up for you. There we are. So tonight, and for this item, you will be considering adoption of the 2025 proposed fee schedule. You are all been through this process multiple times, as this is an annual process that we do here at the city, and it does require an ordinance amendment, which then requires a public hearing. So this will not be the first time you're also seeing these fees and these fee changes. This was brought before you as part of the August budget workshop, which my colleague Trish, who just left, provided a presentation on the proposed fee changes. Then after the August workshop, what we do is, as staff, we compile the fees after receiving council direction into one comprehensive document, which is called the fee schedule, which then we bring back to you tonight to review all the red line and consideration changes to hopefully then approve. As we try and be as transparent in this process as much as possible, we did provide in the agenda report details on every single change that is made, are proposed to be made in this fee schedule, as well as we did include the red line changes as the attachment to the agenda report as well. Just as an overview, and I don't need to go into this in nitty-gritty detail, but just to go through how staff uses or looks at the fees and reviews them and then makes any developments or considerations. We do go through different types of criteria, market city comparisons and best practices, fees required by external sources such as the International Building Code or legislation, cost recovery or just simply the cost of doing business, and then lastly, utility fees, which are based on rate studies and such. So with that, Mayor, I will pass it back to you to, one, if council has any questions, but two, to open up the public hearing.
Very good. This is a public hearing on the proposed 2025 fee schedule. I will now open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak to this item, please approach the podium. Anyone wishing to speak to the 2025 fee schedule? And last call. All right, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and open the floor for council discussion. Any discussion from council members on the fees?
None for me, Mayor.
All right, very good. We will take two proposed motions on this. I will entertain the first motion.
Motion to adopt ordinance 466 MC, adopting a revised fee schedule.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And I will consider a second motion, please.
Motion to approve resolution authorizing ordinance publication by title and summary.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6.4 is a public hearing for 6530 and 6540 Hawks Point Lane easement vacation. Presenting on that item this evening is our Associate Planner Travis Brierly. Mr. Brierly, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, as you pointed out, for an easement vacation, which lies between two properties, the reason it's coming forward is because staff received a lot combination request, and we've reviewed the combination request, and we are approving the combination request based on tonight's decision. The City Council's role when it comes to drainage and utility easements is to review the request, conduct the public hearing, which we'll do tonight, which has been properly noticed, and to adopt a resolution to vacate the easement if chosen to do so. Now, what we're looking at specifically is on the screen, the yellow part that's highlighted is specifically the drainage and utility easement, which we're requesting to be vacated. These easements are put in as part of the platting process between property lines. With the combination where the blue line is a current property line, that would be removed. What we see in green is the drainage and utility easements, which would exist after this process is completed. Vacating the easement between the two parcels has no adverse effects on the property, as there's no utilities put in place. This will also allow for greater flexibility for use of the property for the property owner, which owns both parcels. With that being said, I'd be very happy to stand for any questions. Else, I would recommend a motion to adopt the resolution to vacate the drainage utility easement.
Thank you, Mr. Brierly. This is a public hearing for the easement vacation on 6530, 6540 Hawks Point Lane. I will now open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak to this, please approach the podium. Anyone wishing to speak to the easement vacation, please approach the podium. And one last time. All right, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and ask if there's any questions or comments from council. Seeing no further discussion, I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the resolution vacating a drainage and utility easement at 6530 and 6540 Hawks Point Lane.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 6.5, which is to consider an amendment to the conditional use permit for Enke Brewing at 1495 Steiger Lake Lane. Presenting this evening is City Planner Brian McCann. Mr. McCann, we've got all the staff here this evening. Please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Yeah, we're just cycling through each one of us this evening. Tonight we have a conditional use permit amendment request from our favorite brewery just down the road, Enke Brewing Company. They are proposing to amend resolution number 15-79, which would result in a change of use from a microbrewery to a brew pub. As you're aware, the CUP amendment process starts with an official application, which we received in early November, and then staff reviews the application. Planning Commission holds the public hearing, which occurred at their meeting last week, and then the City Council makes the final decision. So the existing conditions of the property, it's currently located at 1495 Steiger Lake Lane. Their operations as a microbrewery include a tap room with food service. They also brew malt liquor on site, which is also served on site, and then they distribute to liquor stores and restaurants, and they also hold outdoor events. So the proposed amendment to the conditional use permit this evening would be the change from a microbrewery to a brew pub. With that, they would have to cease distribution to liquor stores and restaurants, but that would allow them to sell wine and distilled spirits on site.
One quick question on that. The wine and distilled spirits do not have to be manufactured there, correct?
Correct.
Got it.
So some proposed conditions for the amendment this evening include complying with all the conditions in the resolution 15-79, and then in line with our zoning code that their beer production is limited to 15,000 barrels per year. They will also be required to update their liquor license, and they must initiate the use by next December 9th. Our Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on the request at their meeting last week. They did not receive any public comments, and they recommended unanimous approval with a 7-0 vote. With that, I have a sample motion for you on the screen this evening, and the applicant is in the audience.
Very good, thank you. Council, discussion on this agenda item. Pretty straightforward. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the CUP amendment for Enke Brewing Company at 1495 Steiger Lake Lane.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our last item this evening is item 6.6, which is an overview of the proposed Victoria Ridge apartment building by Doran Companies. Reviewing this evening is City Planner Brian McCann. Mr. McCann, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. As you may recall, the Victoria Ridge development recently had their first phase approved for the first 70 townhomes. The entire project includes 134 row townhomes and a 144-unit apartment building. Since that approval occurred for their preliminary plat, the apartment developer has dropped out of the project, so Civil Site Group and Golden Valley Land have been looking for a new apartment user. So that's where Inland Development and Doran Companies have come in. So as you recall, this was the approved site plan at preliminary plat for the apartment building with the L-shaped design with a surface parking lot and some underground parking. A lot of those elements remain the same in the proposed site plan. It's a slightly larger building. With that, they're proposing to increase the unit numbers. Generally, the parking figures will float in the same amount of area for numbers, but as you can see, they have included some additional features in the apartment building that weren't previously there, such as a pool and spa area and a relocation of patio and fire pit areas, which were previously on the back side of the building. With this proposal that was included with the packet this evening, they also did provide a breakdown of the number of units and bedrooms that would be provided with this new building. And then initially, the staff report that was published last week noted that it would be 164 units. They've actually changed that since then. It's 162 apartment units, and they've also modified some of those parking ratios. So as you may recall, with Victoria South, when it was originally approved, they had an overall parking of 1.89 spaces per unit. They're proposing about 1.8 for this new building, with a slight reduction in the number of enclosed spaces per unit from 1 to 0.99, and then also a reduction in the surface parking from 0.89 spaces per unit to 0.81. And the reason we're bringing this forward this evening is because they're preparing for a final plat submittal. When they do that, they're also going to have to do a PUD amendment with a public hearing with the Planning Commission and final approval by the City Council. So they want to verify that these amendment changes are agreeable with the City Council before they move forward with an application. And then there is no motion required for this. There's is only for discussion only, but I do have representatives of the application in attendance this evening to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, very good. Can you go back? We are increasing the number of units and decreasing the number of parking spaces.
Correct.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. Council? Questions? Discussion?
What was the breakout of unit types? Okay.
Hi. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jaquel Hyder. I'm with Doran Companies. I'm here on behalf of Inland Development and Doran. Just to clarify there, Inland Development is the developer of record that you'll see on a lot of the submittals, but Doran Companies and my day-to-day is helping and just kind of the development role itself. So the breakdown is something we are very passionate about. We typically look at the market and see, we've got other projects in the area as well, and see what's really doing well, what does the demographic seek, and we revise that through multiple iterations. This is a real time where we think the market is looking for these types of apartments, whether it be market rate or affordable. We are proposing 20% affordable in this building right now at 50% AMI. And then I would also like to address the parking question. That's something we typically in the suburban market, we park a 1.65 stalls per unit, and we typically any project we manage for at least 10 years after we develop. So we really see how that does, and we're very passionate about that. Is pretty spot on. Now this market is even a little bit further out than some of your second ring or first ring suburbs. So that parking count is very strategic right now, and you don't also want to overpark or overdevelop infrastructure from an impervious standpoint as well.
Very good. Yeah, we don't have any public transportation out here at this point in time, so we are an automobile using community. So we're always concerned about those parking ratios. Council, questions, comments on this proposal? You said 20% affordable at 50% AMI.
Correct.
Can you shoot me a price on that, a rent on 50% AMI for our area?
What the latest median is? I'd have to look back. We just got new postings from the county, so typically what we've been seeing is those are around for a 2-bedroom unit. The last one that we looked at was about $1,300 a month to $1,200 a month.
Okay.
Probably pretty close to that still.
Okay, thank you. All right, council, questions, comments on this plan?
I guess my only question would be, I mean, we've talked about affordable housing a lot, so I like that the 20% is there. Is there anything we can do to get that number higher, I guess?
Sure. Part of the feasibility is coming here first and just making sure you see the team that's going to be working with this community, and really we're evaluating the financial model. We just want to make sure that the site itself is going to be supported. As we get into further design and analysis, absolutely, we're always looking to support what we can in this community, and we'll continue to have that conversation. We've been talking to Jen and Tammy a little bit in early analysis, so we'll continue that, and you'll see that through future proposals.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
What's the dollar amount on the AMI? I mean, we use 20%, but what's that break down to dollar amount wise?
So Councilmember Gunderson, one of the metrics is it depends on the bedroom count. So as I mentioned, for instance, a 2-bedroom is at closer to $1,500 a month, right? Versus in this market, we might see anything from $2,200 to $2,800 a month, depending on the size of that 2-bedroom. So, and then it goes on by the studio, alcove, 1-bed, 2, 3. So typically it's just where that market rent is at. You get that discounted rent. A lot of people ask questions about that. How does that work in a building? We've done that very successfully in other markets across the Twin Cities and really see that really successfully in all of our buildings with great management team. It's just people are coming through and just need that additional support based on their income levels.
Right. When we're going to be looking at area median income. So what's that breakdown dollar amount if we're taking to what's our median income?
Oh, you're saying your median income, what they're making a year?
AMI, I mean, what 20%? If you make 20% of AMI, what's our AMI? And 20% of that, I mean, I want to say that's still somebody at $80,000 to $90,000 a year.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me because it's based on household size. But yeah, so typically the rents that we're modeling is based off of the income. And when we come back, we can have a further analysis of what that total breakdown is once we finalize our final affordable level too.
But to clarify, you were saying that 20% of the units will be affordable units, and is your affordable threshold 50% of AMI, or is it 80% of AMI?
50% is our target.
Okay.
Yep.
And then when people come and are looking for those affordable units, do you do a certain number of alcoves, a certain number of 2-bedrooms, or do you just do it until there's 20% of them gone, and then no matter what the makeup of the unit is?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is typical, dependent on the market. So a lot of times we like to do a mix of the different unit types, right? But we also analyze the market further to see where is the affordable need. A lot of times you see that in larger units and smaller units. So it's always good to look at what other projects have been doing in the area, what the market needs, and typically we end up with a mix across the unit types.
All right, council, other questions, comments? Okay, seeing no further discussion, there's no action necessary tonight on this item, so we will move on. Mr. McCann, you have what you need from us for the evening? Okay, so there are no more items to come before us this evening, so we'll move on to reports and emerging issues. Attorney Vos, you're up first.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, lots going on. Nothing that I need feedback on or to report on, but we're staying busy.
Good news. All right. We don't want you idle. Ms. Hardy, any reports from staff?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Our city clerk does have an announcement for you all.
Oh, very good.
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members, just wanted to point out, we do have a new art selection as part of our continuous collaboration with Deb Zeller's Art Studio. It's various locals, artisan, it's a mixed use. So art is open to the public during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Edisfold. And we encourage the public to come and view this beautiful artwork that's on display here in our council chambers. Ms. Hardy, anything else from staff?
Nothing further from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? Anything from the council this evening?
None for me, Mayor.
All right, seeing nothing more, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.